Before the Ranger Creed is recited by a formation of Rangers at any ceremony, you will always hear the narrator say this. Will all Rangers, past and present, please join us as we recite the Ranger Creed. Every Ranger will stand, and as they say those six stanzas, they are transformed back to a time when they had the pleasure and the burden of this brotherhood. That feeling is hard to describe. However, it's one that never leaves you. It's a connection that spans the globe and can be reignited when you hear the phrase, "Hey, Ranger, what battalion you from?" Amongst this formation, there are Rangers that stand out. They are legends of this elite organization, and when their names are spoken, people instantly have a story and for a moment relive it. Legends of the 75th podcast wants to capture that feeling and those stories. We want to ensure that these legends' triumphs and sacrifices never fade away. So sit back with your favorite adult beverage and listen to stories from the legends of the 75th. Hey, welcome everybody. We are fresh off of the trail in the Philippines. And as soon as I could get everybody rested and recovered, I said, hey, we need to sit down and we need to kind of capture some of the feeling, some of the emotion, and some of the reflections of what we just embarked on. So, gentlemen, it's kind of funny if you actually think about it. 1 week ago, we were walking, we were participating in ceremonies and everything over on Cabanatan. And it's pretty amazing that now we're here. We've kind of done some different things while we've all been back. We all got back to our normal lives, and I still think to a certain degree, I know at least for me, I'm still kind of carried away with the momentum and the inspiration that came from the trip. So just so everybody's tracking before we start diving into this, we have the honor of having two of the individuals that participated in the event over in the Philippines to honor the raid at Cabanatan, and that is Ted Kennedy. So he's a distinguished member of the United States Army Regiment. He joined in 1986. After he enlisted and he went to 2nd Ranger Battalion, he immediately went on the Panama invasion and then also significant other operations throughout his career with the GWAT. His background also his military career took him to 6th Ranger Battalion, Training Battalion as well, and then 173rd Airborne Brigade. Since his retirement, he's also been involved with training commandos, all over the world, doing some different things. And he continues to stay tied into his Ranger roots and share his experiences and lessons from his service. And then we also have the honor of having the on-screen talent and the kid of the group that many of us call us. And he's probably actually the youngest member we've ever had on Legends of the 75th podcast. But Cameron Fath is also a United States Army Ranger. He served in the battalion, 2nd Ranger Battalion, enlisting in 2014. And then after his time on active duty, he served in the California National Guard. And he actually responded to some of the crises and some of the environmental things that actually happened out there when he was working with the National Guard. He's got a few deployments. One, that we would definitely want to highlight is going to Syria to combat ISIS. Outside of his military career, Cameron has been a very, very busy man. He's dove into the media industry, establishing a strong online presence. He hosts, and he's very popular on social media. He's been on podcasts talking about the military culture, and he also teaches a lot of civilian courses, about firearms, close quarters combat, and small unit tactics. And he's also hosted a Netflix series as well. So you definitely got to go on and check that out and see some of the things that he's done. But he's the on-screen talent. I don't want to say he's the most beautiful man in the group, because I get that award, that designation. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I don't make the rules. It just is what it is. But the reason I actually have these two gentlemen is on here on the podcast is because while we're centralizing the entire documentary and everything that we're doing around the 22 Rangers, the actions of 6th Ranger Battalion, Ted, Cameron, and I are kind of the hosts and the narrators for what we're doing. And the reason for that is because we represent 3 generations of Rangers. So we were able to kind of talk, and we intermingled a lot throughout our journey over in the Philippines, and sharing our different perspectives, because we have 3 very different perspectives, even though we all served in the greatest battalion in the Ranger Regiment at one point. So Anyway, gentlemen, absolute honor to have you on. I know I got a little bit long-winded there. But I'm super fired up to be able to kind of sit down with you guys. So I don't know who wants to start, but let's kind of deep dive just immediate kind of reflections on, what we just participated in and what we did.
Ted, please, the floor is yours to say.
Hey, thanks, Mike, for that introduction. It's great to be back on Legends. Um, I have given it some thought. That we learned from reflection, given some reflection to the whole event. And I think in my initial thought when I woke up after getting back to the States was, wow, it's over. I don't need to make a PowerPoint presentation or write a long email updating everybody that on something that's happened. Um, but the reality of all of it is it was an awesome event. I'll probably surf that wave of motivation and happiness. It was great to be around old buddies, make new buddies. I think that was probably up there one or two of the event was just spending time with other Rangers
Yeah.
in a distant land, exotic, a little bit of danger, a little bit of intrigue, all those things
And by danger, we mean
that
the
made it
food.
all the above.
Right,
Um,
right.
Traffic, dogs, water buffaloes, a few terrorists, some criminals,
Yeah.
some girls. They were pretty dangerous. So it was just a really good experience. One that I hope we can replicate in the future
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%. And I didn't kind of talk about, Ted's actions. So Ted was told about this, he originally talked to Dan Knight, back in March of 2024. And, they floated around the idea, they reached out to a few people. But by the summer is really when it kind of took steam. But Ted was the lead planner. I mean, coordinator, putting everything together, coordinating all the IPRs, went over on the PDSS and did tons of the coordination. Quite frankly, I mean, Ted, it just wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been in charge of it, quite frankly.
Somebody would have stepped up. I
Maybe.
appreciate that. Thank you for the comment. I hope somebody would have stepped up. I mean,
Yeah.
that kind of one of the central themes all along was this is going to happen. That whole uh, and I did mention in my read ahead there we did get some resistance here and there,
Yeah.
which in some ways I think I took as a challenge. Well, you can't do this; it's too dangerous. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, hold my
Oh,
beer,
yeah.
or
The
you
Or
don't you
two.
don't you don't yeah you don't realize where you're going. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Um, it was almost a challenge. It's that rebellious soul in every Ranger NCO when someone says you can't do this.
Oh yeah.
It's
That's just our
like I
fuel.
well, like I've pointed out to many people, no, what you mean to say is I shouldn't do this, but I absolutely can do this. You don't confuse your words. Can't, shouldn't. Can't means I absolutely there is an impossibility of me doing something. Shouldn't means what I'm about to do is a really bad idea, but it doesn't mean I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, Cameron, kind of, turn it over to you for a second. I
Sure.
mean, I just I stood in amazement many a times, because you're sitting there, you're sitting with former regimental sergeant majors, guys that have like 40 years of experience, and you're just getting to walk this route with them and talk with them and hang with them. And I can't even imagine how awestruck at times you honestly might have been. And maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine that some of your reflections was just how amazing that was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. First and foremost, thanks for having me on, Mike. It's to be on a podcast that even alludes to the fact that there's any status that's legendary about me is that's awe-striking. I did my one enlistment in regiment, and thankfully, after my time in, I've had a lot of opportunities and had been, had the chance and honor to fortunately and unfortunately represent Ranger Regiment on TV, which could, depending on how
It's
you slice
fortunate.
that.
It's
Uh,
fortunate, brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, but I'm very fortunate and, I'm very thankful to be even included on a project like this for me, because after I get out, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, specifically guys that have served within the regiment, once they leave, they look for that brotherhood. And I've been trying to find a way that I can continue my service of the 75th just from somewhere else, right? Because
Right.
whether the war is going on or something else, personal matters, everybody has their reasons for leaving and everybody has their reasons for staying. So to be around actual legends, guys that I would hear stories about when I was in, whether they were fabricated or they kind of have like the game of telephone, where it's
Yeah,
actually
some
one
of them
way.
they grow a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Sure, they grow more and more ridiculous, but to see these guys standing in front of me and treating me as a peer, and not as go get my water, young boy, or something like that. Except for Ted a couple times, but I'll bring Ted a beer anytime he asks. But yeah, I'm still processing it.
Yeah.
I think I learned more in that week and a half, 2 weeks, just being around such great guys from the regiment than I did like my entire time as a junior NCO, as a team leader, as a gun team leader, just about leadership, about accountability, about just being the leader that you want your Joes to essentially be when you leave. Just yeah, having that opportunity was almost better and more valuable to me than just getting to commemorate such an awesome and amazing Ranger piece of Ranger history. So yeah, like I said, still kind of processing it. Yeah, I don't even know what it felt like, or at least what it still continues to feel like at home here. I'm kind of just like, what just happened? Still,
Yeah.
yeah,
A different form of kind of like trauma, not necessarily a bad trauma, but like,
yeah,
the mind's still trying to kind of process what it saw and what it
absolutely,
endured. Yeah. Well, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. Well, I will tell you, Cameron, too, one of the highlights for me was in how you just kind of stepped into it and just took charge is when we did the river crossing.
oh
And I remember, Sean and Sarah, and I was down as sick as a dog
yeah,
that day, and they were like, well, we really need them to maybe kind of, cross a couple different times so that we can try to, orchestrate it and get the shot that we wanted to get, the replication shot. I'm like, there's no way that these guys are going to want to do this, after we
yeah,
walked all this time and now crossing a river. And you just were like, hey, listen up. Here's what I need, and like directing everybody, and everybody listened. And I was
yeah.
like,
That was wild. That was
I was
wild.
like, oh shit. Okay. All right. You get some, Cameron.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting time, and that's probably going to be like one of the most unforgettable moments for me because, like, getting out as an E5 in regiment, I was like, finally payback for all the times I've been like
Making them
directed.
stand in the
Yeah, I was
river.
like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
man,
yeah,
here
yeah,
it
yeah.
is. But
Yeah,
that's more of
that's
a
funny.
hindsight
That's
reflection.
funny. Yeah, that's funny. That's actually
Yeah,
really good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But
Hazing
one
them by making them stand in the river. That's
Exactly. I
funny.
know everyone was tired. Everyone was super tired, and I'm sure like a lot of these guys aren't spring chickens anymore, but they
Yeah.
still got that dog in them, which that's the
Oh man.
surprising. Mike Hall, talk about a legend. That dude is my Ralph Puckett. I keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah.
I look up to that man a lot. But these guys are tired. But I remember one thing James Pippin told me right before, or at least when he introduced himself to me. He's like, "Hey, if we're gonna do one thing, we're gonna try to replicate a photo of that river crossing or some iconic thing." And I've always had this idea, or had the idea coming into this, is that we need to try to do that river crossing, that photo, compare the photos. So when we got there, and I was kind of in the rear, and I noticed like half of the group was already past the river and like chilling out on the other side, I was like, oh hell no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fire team leader came out and me, and I was just like, no, 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 no. We gotta go. We gotta go back. Everybody needs to go back because we traveled 7,000 miles to get here for
Yeah.
this specific
And
moment.
walked at that point like 29 or
Yeah.
26, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
we were 20 plus miles in, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we are not just saying screw this. Everybody get the hell back there. But it ended up working, and even though the Filipinos, they kind of got the message too, and I was just like,
Yeah, they
go
did.
walk,
Yeah.
walk, walk.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
truly did.
But I think it
Well,
was worth it seeing the photo that came out of it. So
yeah, 100%. And we'll make sure, we've put it out there. We got to clean it up a little bit, but we definitely want to get that, get it remastered and get it out there because, we actually have some other replication shots that we did too. That's just one. But hey, before I kind of cut us off at the 20-minute mark and then we start deep diving, I just want to give an idea of everybody, what we did here, because sometimes we think that everybody understands necessarily what we did, but it's not always necessarily communicated out. Bottom line is we took 22 Rangers, going back all the way from Grenada, including Panama, Mogadishu, GWAT, Bosnia, over to the Philippines, and along with the Scout Rangers, one descendant from actually 6th Ranger Battalion, one son, Paul, and we retraced the steps that 6th Ranger Battalion took to rescue the POWs at Cabanatan, the 512 POWs that they rescued at Cabanatan. Also, we visited Corregidor. We retraced the route of the Bataan Death March as well, and we participated in multiple ceremonies with that, the National, the Filipino Army, and everything else. And we documented it all on film, and we are currently set to release a film in 2026 about the journey to Cabanatan, where we took 22 Rangers over to pay homage to what 6th Ranger Battalion did 80 years ago. When we released it, it'll be 81 years ago. So we're going to deep dive into a little bit more of kind of Ted and Cameron's reflections and stories and personal vignettes through this journey, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. We're also going to talk about how rapidly we put all of this together, which, normally this is something that you do years in the making. I think I called Cameron about probably 6 months ago, and we made a lot happen. So hey, listen, if you want to listen to the rest of the episode, please become a Patreon member. All of our subscribers to Patreon not only get full access to all the episodes, audio and video. If you become a team leader, you get access to that, but then you get an access to a lot of other videos, creative meetings that we've done in the project itself. We're going to have a lot more coming out about the film, but most importantly, you're also helping us preserve Ranger history. Every single dollar that we collect from our members is going to this film project, and what is becoming the nonprofit for Legends of the 75th, so that we can continue to tell the stories of the 75th Ranger Regiment.